So, hi guys, good evening everyone. I'm really excited. Yes, you all are here, and we will be doing so much fun. Okay, so just cross check the same thing that I'm audible very well, and screen is also visible. That is obviously, but the voice quality must not be very bad. I mean, it must be manageable, right? So, just response here in the chat window with yes or no, and then we can start. Okay, so I know there is a delay between your streaming and you joining from your home. Okay, so if it's all fine, then welcome to this Reboot Your Brain 2.0, right? So, and whatever will be doing, in this entire day journey, I don't know even till how many days it is going to be, this the next session will be there. And under this umbrella I have couple of things in planned, right? So we'll be discussing so much things about technologies, but just confirming. Okay, all right. So first of all, I really want to thank you all for making that effort, and for those people who are really curious and who are ready to learn anything. All right, so without wasting any time, for ones who don't have that PDF, the one that I have shared in the WhatsApp group or somewhere also, so I'm going to show you that so that you can understand what is the learning outcome, right? So 4 more topics I have added, but that is not present in this PDF. Okay, so this objective is to make you industry ready. Okay, and trust me, the final agenda is to prepare you for Google SRE. Okay, so that means there are multiple companies who are offering SRE jobs, but our target is to go for Google SRE. And if you don't know about SREs, please do Google, or maybe you can go to YouTube and just learn about this, what kind of level of knowledge they're looking for, so that kind of thing we'll be doing also. Okay, so, and DevOps Ajari Bridging, everything is here. I'm really nervous this time, पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है, it's been so long. So काफ़ी कुछ है इसमें, right? And apart from this, I have added few more things जो यहाँ पे लिखी नहीं है. For example, the part of routing business, right? So we will be having a kind of a Cisco flavor here. So I have just delivered a few sessions in Cisco. So we'll add some implementation of routing protocol, OSI layer, and everything, right? Practical implementation of that. Okay, so I can see around 50 plus people are here, and yes, I'll be sharing that document in here. Rest, whatever new updates and assignment you can have, so you can directly go for this blog. Okay, so everything, every assignment, every detailed information you can get from this blog, that is /reboot your brain. And here the assignment will be given in a technical format. So it's, for example, this is for Kubernetes, and for containers, for DevOps, for data analytics, for cloud, for AI, for Python. Okay, and you can see the number of comments that you guys have done this, right? Not me. So likewise, you will be finding one more section for the next never before by tomorrow morning, maybe by tonight itself. And other information you can get always in my GitHub account. So this is my GitHub handler, you can browse. So I'll be creating one repo that will be in a distributed format, so you can also connect there. Okay, these are 2 sources. Rest, all the mentors, you can connect to them for any kind of information. Okay, so basically today we are going to talk about the need of Linux in IT industry. And if you really want to understand the technology these days, trust me, for any technology you need operating system knowledge in very much detail, right? And when we talk about operating system, there are number of lists, number of flavors, number of options, and number of choices are there. Okay, but which flavor or which operating system we have to choose accordingly, that is a good job. I mean, that is a very amazing job if you make your choice accordingly. But before operating system, we need to understand about something else. Okay, so how many people are watching this video as of now? I think around 59, right? As I can see my analytics. So according to you, if you can answer the question by your own, right? Don't cheat it. So you don't have to do Google. In one word, according to you, what is Linux? Just answer this question in the chat window, whatever you have in your mind, right? You don't have to copy answer from the comment, because I really want to understand the understanding of your. Okay, so OS kernel, I can see some answers very quickly, right? So you have to be very honest about this, right? So I'm reading the comments. I can see messages like kernel, OS, and open source OS, kernel, software, and operating system, again kernel, again an operating system, again open source OS free, kernel, open source. Okay, the repetition is, there are 3 or 4 words that is coming and going. Okay, it's like some script is running behind the scene. Okay, anyway, so first thing, the options that I get from you guys, the number 1 option I get kernel, second is operating system, third is open source OS and free also. Almost these are the 3 answer, and fourth one is software. These answers I just copied from the comment section. So these are the 4 options. That means still there are some people who has some confusion what exactly the next is. Okay, I'm very sure that I'm not doing this in a very much fast way. I mean, the pace is good, right? So in case if it is fast, you can interrupt me, or you can give your inputs, and a few more options: customizable, durable, and many more things. Okay, but from now onwards, the one policy that you are going to implement in your life is honesty, right? Honesty means what you know about the particular technology or the thing, that is the honesty. You don't have to copy from anywhere. So from today onwards, you're going to remove the confusion from your mind about Linux. Okay, so before answering it, before discussing more about this, I would like to thank you to all of buddies and girls who has given the answer as a kernel. Okay, except kernel, Linux is nothing. Okay, so that simply means, in a one word, what is Linux? Linux is a kernel. But we have to understand what is kernel. When we understand what is kernel, then we'll think about how Linux is being used with operating system and many more things. Okay, somebody also, some people also saying open source and free, but Linux is nowhere an operating system. Linux is nowhere an software, right? So it's not an operating system, it's not a software, it's an entire kernel. Okay, now what is kernel? So kernel is, you can assume, for example, you have a car. कार कैसे बनाऊं? Bike. Okay, you have a bike. So this is a kind of bike. Okay, or maybe you have a car, or you have train or anything. What is the most important and core part of all these given list devices, or you can say your things? So the most core component part of these listed device is engine. Okay, that means if there is no engine in your bike, car, train, or plane, or anywhere, I'm sorry for the drawing, but anyway, so if there is no engine in all these devices, they are useless. Okay, that means the most core component that is responsible for controlling all the activity, that is engine. If you talk about humans, like we have a heart, right? हमारे पास जो दिल होता है, that is kind of our engine. Okay, similarly, when you talk about an operating system is divided into three bigger component, right? The first one is kernel, second is libraries or compiler or interpreter, right? And the final is either you can say application or software. So even if you try to open your CD or DVD or your ISO file of any of the operating system, you can divide these components one by one. That means if I open my DVD where the operating system is bootable, I can remove that kernel. So kernel is an individual component, and this is the core component of an operating system. Core component. That simply means operating system is a big name, right? Under operating system we have layer 3, layer 2 and layer 1. So like for a bike or for a car, we have a big name like bike. Bike has handle, tires, tank and engine. So here the engine of operating system is kernel. Okay, like if you remove the engine from bike, you won't be able to start it, you won't be able to do much operations, right? Similarly, if you remove the kernel from any of the operating system, you won't be able to do anything. So that means, dragging your mouse in the screen to implementing any real world technology, any, sorry for the typo, but any real world technology, if you want to implement it, you need kernel support, right, in terms of IT industry. So now what is the role of kernel? Because we know that, right? In case you have some question in this time, you can tell me, right? So it's a part of definitely operating system, but I hope Vikram you are getting your answer that what exactly the difference between OS and kernel. So OS is a big and very big entity, and under OS kernel is a part, right? Like Aditi is saying, Aditi is answering your question. So what is the use of kernel in our operating system? So let's say we have this hardware. Okay, the hardware is having that RAM and CPU and hard disk and motherboard, many more things. This hardware is having no use if you don't have operating system. So when you purchase a laptop or PC from any of the place, you need to install something here. When I'm saying I am having a DVD or pen drive or something and I want to install Windows 10 or maybe Red Hat or maybe Mac, okay, or maybe Mac, any of the operating system I want to install here. So every operating system has the most core component, that is kernel. So kernel is the one that is going to deal with your hardware. It is going to load driver, it is going to connect with your hardware, it will check the compatibility of the libraries and every other things. So that means if you don't have kernel, even you won't be able to install it, because who load driver, who detect Wi-Fi, who detect mouse, keyboard, Bluetooth, hard disk, CPU, RAM. So the driver management and driver loading is done by your kernel. So at one level, kernel is the component that is interacting with the hardware. So for example, if you are running a C language program, your compiler GCC needs to access some RAM and CPU to execute your program. So GCC compiler will be connecting to kernel, and kernel will be giving a space in RAM and CPU. So kernel is the intermediate between your program and hardware connectivity. Okay, so that simply means different operating system has different kernel, but as of now you just think about only one thing, that kernel is the only component that is going to deal with the hardware. So in terms of writing about kernel, right, The first thing is the core part or component of any operating system. Second, it is going to deal with hardware. Okay, kind of loading, driver, and many more things. Okay, also we'll talk more about this in future. It can resources limit the resources. That simply means, for example, if you have 16 GB RAM or 4 core CPU, then kernel can limit that your operating system or your application only will be able to use 4 gigs of RAM and 1 core CPU. So even your main operating system cannot read anything beyond kernel. So kernel can restrict, kernel can block your USB port, kernel can disable your sound driver, anything, right? Anything related to hardware, kernel will do it. Alright, so first of all, we need to understand that kernel is something that needs to be coded for the first time. And on top of kernel, you can deploy or you can create or you can manage multiple operating systems. Okay, so if this understanding is making a sense to you only about the kernel, I'm not saying I have explained everything, but yes, it is something that you can think about. Okay, so if this is all good and you are getting it, then you can let me know in the chat window that yes, all the points that I have just shared, we all are understanding it. Okay, so I'm waiting for your response. There are lots of list of tasks and operations that we can do, but as of now, if this is all good, we can talk about that. Okay, wonderful. So the important role of kernel will be having a very big and deep discussion about this, right? So anyway, if you have some question post this session, you can always connect to me directly or Discord, right? I'll be really able to happy to help you, right? So any questions will be taken over Discord, right? Not in WhatsApp, not in Telegram. In Discord you can connect and you can ask your question in the discussion panel. Okay, now what kind of kernels we are having in this real world? So if you talk about the kernel list, okay, so if you talk about the company called Microsoft, they created NT-kernel, right? So NT-kernel means yes, the kernel that support exe files, and where on top of this kernel number of operating system being designed by Microsoft. Let's say you start with Windows XP, Windows 7, 8, 10, or Windows Server 2012, 16, 19, and many more, right? So these are some operating system that got designed on top of NT-kernel, and NT-kernel support exe software, right? That means any exe format or kind of software can be handled or managed by your NT-kernel. So if you use any of the operating system by Windows, Microsoft, you will get that one. The next thing is, I can just write it down here, Darwin. Okay, Darwin is kernel that created by Apple, right? And this kernel support any software name that having extension .dmg. So like Windows has a software called exe. Anything you download that is in exe format. Likewise, Apple created a kernel called Darwin, and we have this DMG. Okay, so any OS like OS X or their flavor, Snow Leopard, Catalina, or many more. So these are the operating system. Like I am using this OS as of now. This operating system is if I'll show you here, this OS is Mac OS Catalina, but what is the kernel behind it? So the name of kernel behind this is Darwin. Okay, now the last one is Linux. Okay, so Linux is originally designed by Linus Torvald, right? That means the mind behind Linux kernel is this. But now these days it's a complete open source software, right? OSS means open source software. So you can read more about Linus Torvald and the founder or the original author of Linux kernel. Linus Torvald also designed your Git. Okay, so that means whatever Git we are using, a version control system, this is also designed by Linus Torvald originally, right? So Linus Torvald designed this kernel, and this kernel, like Darwin and NT, it is having in general two kind of software. The software that's supported by RPM and the software that's supported by Debian. So don't be confused here. Like Windows NT support any software with exe extension, like Darwin support any software with DMG extension. For example, if you have VLC media player, then in Windows you have to download vlc.exe to install in any of the operating system. Similarly, if you want to install VLC in Mac, you have to download vlc.dmg. Like for Linux, we have two different software distribution. Okay, so if I'll go up a bit and write Linux here, it's a kernel. So this kernel is generally supporting two different kind of OS software, right? Let's say for example, if you download VLC, then vlc.rpm and another distribution .deb. Okay, so RPM and Debian. So now we have a huge list of operating system under this distribution, and we have also list of operating system under this distribution. That means there are operating system that are going to support DB, and the rest they are going to support RPM. Let's say you might be knowing about one of the most popular operating system these days is Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is going to fall in this category. So any software you want to install or the architecture of the package will be .deb, where DEB stand for Debian, right? Then if you talk about the RPM, the most desired and enterprise oriented operating system is Red Hat. We are not calling it Red Hat, we are calling it RHEL. Okay, so don't call it Red Hat, RHEL. So RHEL means Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Okay, alright. So, and what RPM means, it's a Red Hat package management or manager somewhere. Red Hat package management. Fine. And there are lists, right? You can use CentOS, you can also use Fedora, you can use many more, right? Cloud Linux. and there is a huge list, more than 600 plus operating system. You'll get it there, right? More than 600 operating system plus. Similarly, in Debian, coincidentally, there's an operating system called Debian. Okay, that operating system is also present in this category. Or you might be knowing about Mint, or the hacker's choice, that is Kali, or earlier days Backtrack. Okay, so all these operating systems are coming in this Debian category. Okay, here also we have 600 plus list, right? So in short, your Linux kernel is designed to use for these two kind of categories. Okay, the one that we are going to use is Fedora. For this training, we'll start with Fedora, then we'll use Kali somewhere. Okay, but as of now, we will be using Fedora. This, and why we'll be using Fedora only, there are lots of reasons. I'll be telling you one by one. Okay, before discussing more about it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you one more thing. Apart from Linux, these two distribution background, Linux kernel can also be used. First of all, just give your response here in the chat window. That is it all fine? I mean, your understanding that Linux kernel is divided into two different flavors in terms of software, right? So give your response in your chat window of YouTube if you all are understanding it. Okay, so all right, for Ria it's yes, and okay, so Ritik, okay, so there is one question by Ritik. If the kernel is written in C language, so can we create our own OS? Okay, I'll be talking more about this one, Ritik, right? So because the session for today is about introduction, right? I'm not saying I'm done with kernel, right? We'll be having so many software, okay, so many sessions about kernel, how we can create our own, or what is the programming language behind this. By the way, the major programming language behind this kernel is C. Okay, I'm not saying is purely designed in C, but yes, the major part is in C. Okay, now moving further, where else Linux kernel is? Okay, where else Linux kernel is? So these days you can say Linux is everywhere, right? Linux is everywhere. And what is the list of everywhere? So that means the first thing is in your Android phones, right? All your Android phone, they have Linux kernel, right? Maximum router, I mean Wi-Fi device, they have Linux kernel. If you talk about smart TV, right, they have Linux kernel. You talk about games, I mean yes, the games, what we say, वो पीसी क्या होता है यार जहाँ पे गेम खेलते हैं, what जो भी बोलते होंगे, I don't play it, but जो आपका प्ले स्टेशन, yes, game प्ले स्टेशन, so they have Linux. Okay, even National Space Center, maximum operating system in any of the research center, they have Linux. Okay, if you want to use any device compatibility, anything, okay, so we'll be having that. Okay, all right, so it's a huge list. What you can do is, I can suggest some videos to check where exactly Linux is running. Even there is a device open WRT. So whosoever having the Wi-Fi hacking experience, they must be knowing about OpenWRT, and that is one of the big uh, device on wireless network. You can also install Linux over there. Okay, so moving on to the next thing, there is a lot of confusion in open source. Okay, what people think about open source is entirely different from the reality. Okay, so when I say open source, first of all the time, it doesn't mean free all the time, right? In bracket I'm just copying all the time. Simply, it's not free all the time, but there's a star. Then what is free? What is free? Okay, so when I say I'm creating a software called Firefox, let's say I'm the founder of Firefox product, let's say, right? If I'm the founder of Firefox product, so I have two vision. The first in source code. Okay, that means the actual program how Firefox is written is source code, but after compiling this source code I can make a product. Okay, so when I say open source, that means what is free, that is source code. Okay, it doesn't mean that the product is also free. Let me take one more example. For example, I'm a pen making company. I'm a company who make pens, writing pens. Okay, I cannot give pen for free. I cannot get pen for free, but I can share how to build it, how to build or design this pen. What are the materials? What is the process? What is exactly the methodology to do that? If I'm giving it for free, how to, or the source code, right? That is open source. It doesn't mean we have to give the product itself. Okay, and the big example of this is Red Hat. Okay, Red Hat is designed entirely by using open source product. Okay, and it's also not free. That means source code they are using of Linux kernel, right? So about the example, right? About the example, if I'm going to talk, you take two examples, CentOS and Red Hat RHEL. Okay, both the operating system is, they are same in 99.99% cases. Here this is free, means the source code also and the product also, but this is not free as in product, right? The source code of Fedora or CentOS is common. Okay, so in short, there is a company called Red Hat. So Red Hat has a project called Fedora. They do all their research in this OS. Then from this Fedora, they release CentOS and Red Hat. Okay, this is for production grade OS. That means they are selling this operating system with couple of big support, and this is entirely free. Okay, so the reason behind using Fedora is this is the most updated and most highly recommended operating system for beginners. All right, so that's why we are using Fedora, because this company Red Hat is creating Fedora as a project, and then they are making CentOS and this. These days Red Hat also has one more operating system, that is CoreOS. Okay, so this is also a product of, not exactly the product of Red Hat, but CoreOS was a company with an operating system, so Red Hat just taken with that. Okay, so I think you got your answer, Rhythm, right? The product that you can think about. All right, now the first thing, because we need to do maximum things practically, so what we need to do, we need to install operating system. Okay, so the next thing is we need to talk about installation. So there are so many methods for installation. Okay, say the first method that we generally use is either by using CD or DVD, the way we used earlier, or maybe by USB or by hard disk. Okay, this is your first method. So any of the operating system you can install by CD, USB or hard disk by making the operating system bootable. Or in second case, you can also use the ISO image. That means the image format of operating system is ISO. You can use this image directly if you want to install this in a VMware or VirtualBox. So simply, ISO image means the image of operating system. You can install there. But this method is not being used by any company. The reason is because by using these methods, we need to install OS one by one. For example, let's say you have a CD or DVD and you have 400 computers. Okay, you have CD and DVD, or you have bootable pen drive, or you have ISO image, and let's say you have 400 computers. What about this now? So if you have 400 computers, you won't be able to install in a parallel way. Simply, you need time. Okay, so that's why a third type of installation came in picture, that is network installation. Okay, so we'll be creating our own network installation in near future. So network installation means your all PCs are connected with your LAN, and there will be one server. From this server you can install operating system as well. I'm not saying you are going to download it. This is your hardware. These are hardware. There is nothing, right? There is nothing. That means there is no operating system. So by using network based installation, we can have we can install them in a one shot. So that means you can install them parallelly. So you will save time and money. The protocol we will be using to install is FTP, HTTP and NFS. So these are the protocols. By using them we can install operating system here. Okay, so I think till now these are three installation methods we will be using. Okay, so if the installation methodology is all set or all clear, Just give your response in the chat window with yes or no, right? So anyway, I'm just waiting for your response. All three methods, right? So yes, we have this session. Yeah, there is a different story. We need to be on the same page rhythm. Okay, so just give a response in the chat window in a very quick way so that we can take it forward. Okay, now all set. Wonderful. There is one problem again. Okay, and what is that problem? For example, whatever method you use, either you use CD, DVD, or use USB, or use your ISO image, or you use your network. Okay, any of the method you use, when you plug your operating system for the first time to the hardware, right, to the hardware, there is something. And what is something? Let's say I believe you all be having an experience of installation of any operating system. That means all of you might have experience of installing Windows 7 or 8 or 10, maybe any Linux based operating system, Linux based OS, any other experience, right? You might be having. If you have the installation experience, so let's say this is my CD or my pen drive, and I'm inserting it into the suitable port. When we need to select the from BIOS and everything, that's fine. So first screen we get that what is the language you want to use with this operating system, right? Then after this they're asking what is time zone. Likewise, in near future they will ask, click on next button, create user, create partition, format hard disk, and many more. So they have a fixed set of questions that you have to answer it. Okay, so that means either you use this method or this method or this method, this method, then you have to answer it. Yes, we are using this language, this time zone, this next button, user, partition, and many more things. So as a engineer, you have to answer that question by giving your input like a mouse or keyboard, whatever you want. Okay, definitely when you have 400 PCs or 500 PCs, you are not going to answer that question one by one. Okay, so here there is a program who is asking for questions. So my question to you is, can anybody tell me when you install any operating system, any OS in a particular hardware, then in your monitor screen you will be asked for number of set of questions by this OS, by this CD, DVD or pen drive, as we discussed above, right? So my question is, who is asking that question? Who? I mean, you need to tell me the component or the name of that program or something that is asking these questions: time zone, user, partition, many more things. Who is that? Right? So one answer given by Rhythm, maybe kernel. I don't know. I am not giving answer right now, but I'm just looking at your answers. So Akash is saying kernel, right? So of course kernel. Okay, So first of all, think before you answer, right? Definitely kernel cannot, because you have a DVD and inside DVD kernel is there. Kernel is not installed yet. Okay, so there is a program in every operating system that is going to ask all these questions, and that program name is installer. So every operating system has a program in their OS, we call it installer. And installer is something that is asking for, what is, username, password, partition, and many more things. So if you read about the installer in a much more detail, right? So right now I'm talking about any Linux based operating system you are going to install. So the installer of any Linux based OS is Anaconda, right? Anaconda. Okay, I'm just revising it again, maybe if there is a confusion. So let's say I have this CD of Red Hat OS, okay, and I'm going to inject this CD into this hardware, alright, into this hardware. So first, when I inject this CD into this hardware, every operating system has a program, we are calling it installer. The job of that program is to prompt for the questions for you, okay. That means it will prompt question for you, that you need to select time zone, keyboard type, and many more things, okay. So every operating system has their own installer. So the name of installer in a Linux based operating system is Anaconda, right? So this is the program that is prompting those questions for you. So it is prompting the all questions for you, right? Why I am sharing this information? Because who is asking question? Anaconda. So let's say as a developer or as a programmer, if you can write a code, let's say in Python language, in C language, in Java language, to answer the question of Anaconda or installer of any OS, then you don't have to answer it by your mouse or keyboard. So that means we are going to learn that how we can write a code or script in supported programming or non-programming language, so that we can answer the question of installer, so that when it will be selecting, asking for language, I'll be choosing this one. So where we were answering the question in 10 minutes, this time we'll be answering question in 1 second, because if you remember, we already know the questions. This is going to be installed, this or that, and many more things, right? So we can write a program that can answer the question of Anaconda even during the installation time, okay. So the operating system is not there in the hardware, so the script we need to attach with the CD itself or with the pen drive. So whatever script will be creating will be attaching to this CD, so that it can question itself and it can answer also, okay. Are you getting my point? This is, we're not doing it right now, but this is something that I'm introducing to you, right? If this thing is making sense for you guys, just let me know in the chat window, okay. So waiting for your response. So just give your response in chat window in a very fatafat way. Okay, I'm trying to make the pace as slow as I can, right? Chinmay, you're asking something, so please ask your question in the Discord, because it is really impossible to answer all the questions for now. Okay, so this is something that we can plan. Okay, now moving on to the next. So how we are going to use that? So the setup we'll be using, I have already discussed with the teams that either you guys use VMware or VirtualBox of your own choice, VirtualBox or VMware, or maybe any other virtual machine software like KVM or Microsoft Hyper-V, whatever software you want to use. So let's say you have your Windows or Mac based system. So here you can install this VirtualBox, VMware and KVM, or any of your choice. And then on top of this, you have to install Fedora 32. Okay, number of reasons are there behind the scene, but Fedora 32. So I think, let me cross check it. Yes, it's a Fedora 32. Okay, and try to install it 64-bit version. Fedora 32, try to install 64-bit. Okay, from where you will get Fedora 32 ISO image. So Fedora download ISO. The official page by Fedora is getfedora.org. You go there and see the most recent is Fedora Cross 8664 and this one. So if you are having your ARM processor, in generally your PCs is having ARM, so you can use this. Okay, so you don't have to make your pen drive bootable or anything, just download this ISO file, because for installing Linux in any of the VirtualBox or VMware, we don't need to make it bootable. Okay, so ISO file will be all fine. So this link I'm sharing right now here, or maybe in Discord also. So tomorrow I'll open the Discord. So this image you have to download if you have laptops. If you have PCs, you can check your processor, then you can download this one. So I'm sharing this link in the chat window. Mentors can take that link and put it on Discord. This will be good for others. Okay, so I have already downloaded that 32 image. Now I'm going to show you the installation. It's very easy, by the way, but still I'm going to show you how you can install Fedora 32 in your VirtualBox or VMware. Okay, so the configuration I will be giving will be very minimal. So what configuration will be giving is here. See, so as a beginner, it will be really great that Fedora 32, or maybe any lower version also, you can give around 2 gigs RAM. If you don't have, you can try with 1.5 or 1 GB, not more than 1 core CPU, and around 25 to 50 GB hard disk. Okay, ये आपकी श्रद्धा पे डिपेंड करता है कितनी आपके पास है. I'm sorry अगर किसी का नाम हो श्रद्धा तो देख देना. Right, so the number amount of storage you want to give is that one. So ये this is the configuration that you have to give to this. Okay, now I'm gonna show you the installation part. So myself, बाय द वे मैंने अपने बारे में तो बताया नहीं. And I'm Ashutosh Singh. I'm one of the contributor in Fedora community. ये मेरे image नहीं है. This is my link. And I'm working in open source community since long. And I'm not contributing that much in Fedora, but yes, I was one of the contributor in bug team sometime, right? Long time back. But these days in Docker and Kubernetes, I'm contributing. Anyway, so yes, so I'm gonna use VirtualBox here. Okay, so how exactly we are going to install it? I have already installed Fedora, but I'm gonna show you the new one. Okay, so first of all, when you open your VirtualBox, it will be like this, or your VMware also, you can refer the same. You'll be having a new option or create a new virtual machine, whatever it is. So I am just clicking on the new. Then here you have to give the name, let's say Fedora OS. Okay, here you don't have to do anything, just select by default whatever it is, the next 64-bit, and click on continue. Okay, accordingly you can give your RAM and CPU. So I'm just giving it around 2048 MB RAM, that is 2 gigs, and continue. It is not going to ask for CPU. By default it will take 1 core, and in this list you can select the by default whatever it is. Okay, now click on create. Here also the first option will be fine, VDI, and the continue. Here default also dynamic allocation, and here you don't have to change. This is your hard disk, so I'm gonna use around, let's say, 20 GB. So around 20 GB, fine. You can use 25-30 accordingly, जितनी आपकी श्रद्धा है. Okay, now click on create, sort it. When it got created, you can check here kind of things, but you just have to click on start by selecting that. When you click on start, what you have to do is you have to choose your ISO file from here. So just click here and click here on the add button. Okay, then go to the location where you have and click on this ISO file, open. You can watch this video again and again, and I'm selecting this image. Okay, now just clicking on start button. So here you will be getting two options. Let me maximize it. You're getting two options. The first is start Fedora live. Okay, let me take it. What is live? Okay, the second option is test this media and start Fedora workstation live 32. Okay, so these days, even from past also, almost any Linux based operating system, that means any Linux based operating system, we can use live. Live का मतलब है without installation. Okay, and the second is installation. That means you can install it directly or you can use live. Okay, almost any, right? Means any को almost any बोल देता हूँ, सब नहीं, maximum है, but right. So live means you don't want to install, you just want to try. ये बिल्कुल ऐसा है, वो घड़ी डिटर्जेंट का ऐड आता है ना, पहले इस्तेमाल करें फिर विश्वास करें, पहले इस्तेमाल करें फिर विश्वास करें, राइट, ऐसा कुछ. तो ये घड़ी डिटर्जेंट है, राइट, एंड दिस इज persistent, right. Live में ड्रॉबैक क्या है? If you make any changes in the operating system, let's say you install some software, you create some file, when you shut down your OS, everything will be deleted. Okay, but in installation it will be permanent. So again I'm going to my Fedora. So always select the second option. Test this media means it is going to test your CD or your ISO image, it is corrected or good, right? And hit on enter. So this will take some time, but it will check the ISO image. Okay, I'm just going to make it a smaller one. So it is taking some time, but it will check it. See, it is checking the ISO, right? So this percentage, you can skip button, you can press skip button to just skip it, but it will be good if you can test it, because it is going to test your validity of ISO file. It's okay, the media is all set. Now you just go with the flow. All right, see, so this is something your Fedora machine is booting. Don't worry about if some failure message is there, just go with the flow. All right, so anyway, I'm just waiting for my display manager to come up. So once it will be coming up, it is live, and then we have to install it. Okay, so that installation steps I'm gonna share. It's very easy although to install Fedora in your VirtualBox or VMware. See, this is the first screen. Here we are getting try Fedora or install to hard disk. Alright, so I'm gonna use the second option, because try Fedora means it is gonna be live, and here second. Okay, I'll just click on install in hard disk. It will take some time to figure out few things, right? And just wait for it. Okay, see, now you can see here the install to this is there. You can select your language. Please do not select Hindi, मतलब आप भारतीय हैं तो थोड़ा ऐसे माहौल में मत आ जाना. And Hindi, English, whatever you want. I'm just doing this and click on continue. Okay, the most important point is installation destination. If you're not watching this video right now, you have to watch it again. Okay, so I'm just clicking on automatic partition selection mechanism. You don't have to select this partition automatic method. Just click on custom. Okay, everybody, you just listen that point, you don't have to do it automatically. Just click on custom and just click on done. Once you click on custom and done, you'll be having this screen. Okay, so you need to create some partitions here. The first, you have to click on plus button and you have to take boot partition, not more than 500 MB. So /boot 500 MB. We'll be discussing about this in near future, what is /boot and what is all this. Okay, so this got created. Now we have around, oh my god, I have 20 MB. Okay, you know that. And then select your slash, rest around your 19 GB, whatever you have, you can just give it. By mistakenly I selected this 25 MB, but nothing to worry about. Just select, let's say 15 GB. Okay, so simply we have all this. After creation of these two partitions, just click on done. Okay, once you click on done, rest there is no question, or whatever it is, the username and time, you can just take it, right? It's gonna take 25 to 30 minutes for you, but it will install it. So only the main part is this: create /boot and create slash. So you have to give maximum storage to slash this one. Let's say if you have 25 GB, so you can write 25 G. Okay, I don't have as of now, but I'm just using it. Okay, so simply you don't have to give all the storage for this. I'm selecting in VirtualBox again. Now once you use this setting, so let's say if you have 30 GB hard disk, 30 GB, so 500 MB you have to give to slash boot, and 25 GB you have to give to slash. Rest 5 GB you can leave as it is. We'll be using that storage in near future, so you just leave as it is. So this is some kind of configuration that you can take, and I hope you will be doing your installation by your own. So it's not a big problem. I just selected wrong storage, okay, and I'm just terminating it. Okay, so this is the only step that I wanted to discuss, and that's it. All right, so I'm expecting very much same that yes, we all will be doing the installation of Fedora, so that we can learn things practically. Okay, so if everything fine or all good, you can just say okay, fine or cool in the YouTube chat, and that's it for today. So this was the first session, and about all practicals and the thing we will be working. So you collect your question, okay, yes, everything will be saved here. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much guys, and we'll be connecting tomorrow same time. So thanks to all, and we'll be connecting it. Okay, so make sure you have done with the installation. I'm just stopping it because I have already that a first machine installed, and I'm going to remove it from there. Okay, I'm deleting all files. Right, so that's it, and see you tomorrow. Have fun.